If you don't release something that works well, there's already enough skepticism in the market. The important distinction of what does it mean to be an AI assistant for a lawyer versus an AI assistant for workplace productivity is all around domain orientation and trust.
I'm Marcelo De Santis, host of the Tech Series. Today I am in New York City to meet Joel Hron, Chief Technology Officer at Thomson Reuters. Thomson Reuters is a global content and technology company serving professionals in law, tax, risk, and media, combining authoritative content with enterprise-grade agentic AI to power mission-critical work where precision and transparency matter. 100% of the Fortune 100 rely on Thomson Reuters, and more than 1 billion people around the world read or see Reuters news every day. Expertise, trust, and AI. That's the promise. I know you want to learn more. Let's go meet Joel. Hello, everyone. I'm here today in New York with Joel Hron, Chief Technology Officer at Thomson Reuters. Joel, welcome to the Tech Series.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.
Nice to be here.
Let me start with a question. I know you are building AI products in a customer segment that is very complicated. Law, accounting, risk, compliance. Some CTOs might think that this is a dream job, but others might think it is a nightmare.
Yeah.
So please, tell us about your journey in Thomson Reuters and what did you learn so far?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, prior to Thomson Reuters, I really have had a pretty circuitous path to this point in my life. I'd say I sort of started life as an engineer, not even really in software, more in actually mechanical engineering. And I think I've always applied machine learning at this time, to the work that I've done, like a lot of data science, traditional machine learning practices have been part of really every role that I've had for the last couple of decades. And that's kind of been, I guess, part of the DNA of a lot of the functions I've played. A handful of years ago, started an AI company with a few other guys, and fortunately got acquired by Thomson Reuters 3 years ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And so that's how I ultimately joined the company. And I think, one of the things that I think perhaps has benefited me the most in that path throughout my life is it has taught me how to be particularly adaptable. I was never necessarily trained in one thing or the other. Many of the things I learned through education, I rarely apply them today. But I think this sort of adaptability quotient has allowed me to come into new environments, observe them very well, and have good sort of intuition for what's working well, what's not working well, and kind of what the path forward we need to take.
Do you think those skills are coming from your entrepreneurial starts or?
Yeah, I certainly think that's part of it. As an entrepreneur, you sort of start day one with this idea and this mission. And in many cases that stays as the North Star, but the path to get there is never the one that you thought it might be on day one. And I think this sort of resiliency and grit that you develop as an entrepreneur requires you to be adaptable. It also requires you to be extremely humble. I think, anybody that has sort of started and grown and scaled a company probably has developed that skill either the easy way or the hard way. But there's no, I think, better masterclass in terms of how to get humbled than by trying to grow a company from the ground up.
So tell me a bit about how is that transition from being an entrepreneur and joining a very large organization like Thomson Reuters. How was that transition? What did it mean for you, for your team, for the company in general?
Yeah. So prior to my startup career, I had worked for some large corporations before, so I had a sense of at least how larger corporations operated. The perspective that I tried to bring into the organization when we came in is that, like, even though I maybe couldn't feel like I was the builder working on the one thing to solve the one problem, like, I want, and I still to this day want, for my teams to feel like that. Like, if you go down into the organization, all the way down to the squad or the team level, like, they should feel like a startup. Like, they have the 7 or 8 people that they're on the phone with every day, like screen sharing all day long to work on a problem, and they have sort of the common mindset and common, like, problem framing that they're going after. So I think that was my mindset, to say, look, I'm leaving that space and moving to something different, but if I can't have that, I want at least the people that work under me to feel like that every day.
So let me switch to your AI journey. Actually, Thomson Reuters AI journey. I understand that you have been working with AI for many years, specifically starting with probabilistic search, and now you guys are getting into AI agents. How did you manage to transition from probabilistic search and more traditional AI into generative AI agents, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah. So Thomson Reuters has had in different forms and fashions what we've called Thomson Reuters Labs, like you said, for over 30 years now. When I came into the organization, perhaps a year later or so is when sort of like the ChatGPT moment kind of hit the world. While we had deep expertise in our labs on how to do this, the rest of the organization had expertise in sort of how to integrate and interact with it, but not necessarily in terms of how to build it. Traditionally in software engineering, I click this button and I want the same thing to happen 100% of the time. Now you're building an application where the button gets clicked and something different will happen every time. And, like, how do you design a product for that? How do you evaluate a product to make sure that, probabilistically the right thing is happening most of the time, right?
And within the industries and the clients you are working
correct.
with.
And within those industries, it needs to happen, like, very, very often, right?
Yes.
And, like, it needs to fail with a very, very low frequency. And so this non-determinism was like a key skill set that existed in our labs but did not exist elsewhere in engineering. And so it was quite a big change, and it was quite a culture shock too for a lot of those people who were traditionally working, in a longer range sense, and now they're delivering something that is going to hit the market next month. Yeah. And so all of these things I think have really allowed us to continue down that path. But I think it was really about being purposeful in that, like, those first days, if you will, around what we were going to do differently, and really leaning into that and being aggressive, and we certainly were.
So Joel, AI is changing the way we work, we live, we connect, we play. What's the, I would say, positive outlook on AI in your perspective, and what is the less positive future outlook for AI?
I think from a positive standpoint, if you look at Thomson Reuters and the industries we serve, like, this is expert information, which in many ways means it's hard to get. Like, by definition, expert, not everybody in the world has access to it. And I think one of the things that technology provides is greater access to this information from all over the world. And I think that could be access to justice, access to kind of key financial information for people who are planning taxes, things like that, access to compliance information. So I think that's a really exciting prospect for AI. I think outside of the industries we serve, we talked about earlier the impact on education. I think the opportunity to not just personalize education, but also make it more accessible to more people in the world, I think is tremendously positive. I think the potential impacts on health and drug discovery and things like this are going to absolutely revolutionize how we think about, like, medicine and human health and these kinds of things. And I think those are all quite exciting.
Do you think we're going to live up until we are 120 years?
I certainly hope not. I don't think people want me around that long. I think There's certainly some risks, though. I think the obvious ones are the risks around security from a technology perspective. I think AI makes it far easier for people to impersonate and develop fraud schemes that look and feel very human, and that's like a very scary proposition for the future. I think the other thing that is a potential risk is like this human and societal over-reliance on technology. I think in many ways you've seen this trend with social media and the impacts, particularly on like young children and young adults, as to that lack of human connection that develops and what that means for their ability to develop socially. And I think as you think about AI, I think the propensity for that lack of human engagement that might sort of perpetuate because of this is a real risk that I think we as like people and society need to be mindful of and try to work against.
Let me move into CoCounsel as a product, right? In simple words, what does CoCounsel solve? What problem does it solve? And where are you seeing return on investment in the customers you serve?
Yeah, CoCounsel is a professional AI assistant. So in the same way you might think of Microsoft Copilot as like a workplace assistant or a productivity assistant, or ChatGPT as like a personal assistant, we view CoCounsel as a professional AI assistant. And in particular, a professional AI assistant for lawyers and a professional AI assistant for tax and accounting professionals. And I think the important distinction of what does it mean to be an AI assistant for a lawyer versus an AI assistant for, workplace productivity is all around domain orientation and trust. At the end of the day, any of these AI models can kind of give you any answer to any question. It's sort of like one of the beautiful things about them is like they sound like wonderfully accurate and can answer a broad array of questions from advanced physics to like poetry, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean they're always right about those things, but it will answer. And so like the goal of building a professional AI assistant in that sense is to really orient it to the domain and ensure that the way that the AI assistant is answering and the quality of the answers are aligned and accurate to the domain that we're working in. And that means sort of leveraging content that is trusted within that domain. It means training those AI systems with experts in those domains.
So you have experts as part of your team?
We have in Thomson Reuters 4,500 legal experts, tax and accounting experts, et cetera, who are embedded with our technical teams in terms of the development and like I said before, the evaluation of these systems before they ever hit the market.
So Joel, I'm really curious about seeing CoCounsel in action, solving a problem for a lawyer, for example. Is that possible?
Absolutely. We have one of our product managers, one of the lead product people on CoCounsel for tax, right here, Stuart, who does this every day, thinks about these problems every day. I think he'd be great to show you a little bit about what the product does.
Excellent. Well, Stuart, nice to meet you. Marcelo, welcome to the Tech Series.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
So Stuart, please, can you show us how CoCounsel works? How does it solve a real problem for a lawyer, for example?
Sure. Yeah. So CoCounsel is an agentic AI product that is grounded in Thomson Reuters authoritative knowledge set. And it helps professionals, tax accounting, audit professionals, and lawyers navigate complex problems and build trust and confidence in the AI.
So I learned that trust is at the center of the value proposition of the product. Can you help us to see how it works?
So kind of put yourself in the shoes of a junior associate, maybe somebody who is kind of working on a difficult, complex kind of compliance problem. You're working on a partnership. You've got these long, complex documents that you need to analyze and understand how they fit into the regulatory framework. I can use CoCounsel to help me get started on this problem. So I'm going to ask CoCounsel to look up the guidance from the authoritative editorial content that we produce as Thomson Reuters, and then I'm going to ask it to apply that knowledge directly to this partnership document. By leveraging this authoritative knowledge from Thomson Reuters, we improve accuracy, we improve performance on the downstream task, and we help the professional build trust, confidence, and understanding in the work that the AI has done. So,
Do they save hours of work? Do you have any idea?
they do, yeah. So it really helps automate a wide variety of kind of grunt work. And it also helps with more junior members of staff who perhaps don't really know how to get started, get started much more quickly on these kind of complex, difficult problems that often involve looking at a really wide range of different information, whether it's regulations, it's standards, it's updates, and a broad knowledge of the client scenario that you're working on as well.
So for law firms, it's not only that they save time doing the work, but also the time of onboarding new associates, so to speak.
Yeah, that's right. Getting them up to speed more quickly and doing it in a way where they're really leveraging the pre-existing knowledge, whether that's from Thomson Reuters or from in doing so.
So let me switch now to the future of work. You've been talking about agents. We all are talking about agents taking our jobs. You are providing tools to, so to speak, replace part of the work that lawyers do in a daily basis. What's your philosophy there? How do you advise your clients when to replace a job, when to augment, when to collaborate with AI?
Aside from AI for a minute, like any job I've ever stepped into, I've stepped into it with the mindset that like my job is to fire myself. Like I want to make myself obsolete. Like if I've done that, then I've like empowered my team, or I've put in place the right framework of decision making to where like I'm not the critical impediment to things moving forward. And like if you've done that, I think you've led well, right?
And you grow yourself.
Right, exactly. So I think that's a perspective. So I've like just personally never been kind of fearful of that because it's always something I've leaned into. And I think if you look at AI in the same light, is actually more of a positive than a negative. And I myself, as a user of AI tools for productivity or engineering or other things, what I see when I use it is that the hard decisions about my job become the most critical things to give the AI to do what I want it to do well. Like it's not making decisions in a way that's inconsistent with how I would want to. And if it does, like I often find it goes off on some tangent that like is terribly wrong and I've got to pull it back. But it's these micro decisions that sort of lead it along the path that I want it to go down. And I get down that path much faster than I ever would before. And so, you know, I'm not so worried about this idea of it taking my job because like I still see myself as like a necessary guide to it in terms of ultimately getting to the right place at the end of the day. And I think, you know, whether it's engineering or law or tax or any of these other things, I think it's important for individuals to perceive themselves in that same way. And in fact, if you perceive yourself in that way, it actually amplifies the hardest parts of your job. These little nudges and steers that you're making are frankly like the hard judgments that require good intuition and good experience and good judgment that ultimately get you to the right answer. And those are the hardest parts of the job. It's not like writing the words on a Word document or writing the code into an IDE. It's making these hard judgments and technology choices and, you know, splitting this hair, you know, one way or another. Those are the things that like experts do really well. And so in many ways, I see it amplifying the best people in our organization to do even more than they could before. So I think I take quite a positive view from that perspective in terms of its impact.
There is a quote from Max Zipri, who is the author of Leadership is an Art. It's a book that I love. It's a very old book about leadership, still relevant, I think, that says the first responsibility of a leader is to define reality. So, 2 questions for you. What's your first responsibility? And how do you define reality for your team, for Thomson Reuters, when reality is changing every other week, specifically in the technology area?
Yeah. It's almost like defining the unreality is the more important thing. My number one responsibility to my team, I think, is probably ownership. Like I told you before, I think, but also like knowing what I am good at and what I'm not good at. Right? Like there are certain things that like I feel like just by my human nature, God-given gifts, like I feel like I have a sense for, and like that's the lane I need to swim in. There's another lane that somebody else is good at, and there should be, like I should let them swim in that lane. You know what I mean? And I think understanding where I can add value and where I can't, where I need to defer and where I don't, is one of the things that is kind of a core responsibility for me.
What does it take to understand that responsibility?
I think it takes a tremendous amount of like humility, like at the end of the day. I think because, you know, I will never be good at anything. I'll never even be good at most things. I'm probably good at like a couple things. And as hard as I try, I'll probably never get better at the rest of them in a way that somebody else is great at them, right? And so at the end of the day, I think it takes a tremendous amount of humility to not just see in yourself what you're good at and what you're not, but also to see in other people like what they are good at and not good at, and put them in positions to like excel in the things that they're good at, and not worry so much about the things that they're bad at, you know?
Help me to complete this sentence. When Joel is at his best,
when Joel is at his best, he is balanced, I would say. I think I find that like sort of balance throughout my life between like my family and my hobbies and my work is the thing that like drives the kind of creative and intellectual side of my brain the most. Like if I spend, 10 hours a day on meetings, I'm absolutely drained and I have like nothing useful to say to anybody. Like, but if I can like strike good balance, I think the kind of best parts of me come out. I'm able to like actually spend time like thinking and reasoning about the hard decisions that need to be made. And it's probably the place I'm most valuable at the end of the day.
And when Joel is not at his best?
Yeah, probably unbalanced, I would say. And when I'm unbalanced, it's distraction. I think sometimes as a CTO, a hard part about the job is, particularly at like a large company, you always have something happen. If you want to be busy, there's something to keep you busy. If you want to be in a meeting, you can be in a meeting at any minute of any day, weekends included. And I think having the judgment of like, what is actually important for me to be at, what is actually important for someone else to be at, and trusting that they're going to make the right decisions in that moment. I think when you get away from that and you try to just be busy all day long, you're actually not productive or valuable in the way you can be.
So Joel, thank you very much. I truly enjoy this conversation with you.
Thank you for having me. Really enjoyed it as well.
Another great conversation, this time on a topic at the very top of the agenda for business and especially for the future of work, AI and AI agents. What stayed with me was Joel's focus on trust. He spoke about accuracy and privacy as measurable standards, not empty words. He walked through the process that made professional grade real to me. Joel shared how Thomson Reuters moved from chatbots to agents that run entire workflows end to end. He emphasized that autonomy, context, memory, and coordination are not fixed. They must be tuned to each use case. A legal agent may need strict guardrails but deeper context and memory, while a compliance agent may require stronger coordination. This fine-tuning is what turns a generic model into professional-grade agents that deliver both speed and trust in regulated spaces. That is what legal, tax, and accounting professionals need. He reminded us that humans, they're experts, stay in the loop by design. The message was simple. AI gives speed, people give judgment. That balance is smart and ethical. Joel explained how CoCounsel, their flagship AI agent, became the connective tissue across their business, uniting tools, people, content, and models. That required complex technology architecture to build on top of what their already strong AI infrastructure was, and the courage to say not ready yet when the quality of AI wasn't there. That mix of confidence and learning gives me hope for what comes next. It is responsible AI in action, not just words. A great lesson for any business. Thanks for staying with us. If you enjoyed this conversation, please subscribe and share. It really supports the show. This is the Tech Series, where innovation meets humanity. See you in the next episode. Pleasure. And to those watching, thank you for joining us. I hope you like the show that require complex technology architecture to build on top of what this fine-tuning is what turns generic.